If you're a real estate agent and you are looking to generate more listings, then you definitely want to check out this video. We're going to talk about generating seller leads with online marketing, Meta and Google Ads. You've probably heard the term listings are leverage. Listings are how you generate more deals. You generate more listings, more buyers, more clients, and more contacts, more people you can get in front of. When you have a listing, buyers and clients are actually coming to you. And if you're looking to scale your business, there's only so much time in the day, and you can only work with so many buyers at once. So I know agents that love to work with buyers, but if you want to scale, like I said, listings are leverage, and that's where you're going to be able to scale. And if you've already tried any type of seller lead generation, or you've heard people talk about it, you probably have struggled or run into issues or heard people say it's not worth it. The leads are terrible. They're probably not going about it the right way. So I'm going to show you a few things which have worked for me. I'm an active real estate agent right now. They've worked for me. They've worked for agents that I coach, agents on my team. These are strategies that I have seen the results from, and I'm going to share them with you. My name is Ben Larson. I'm a real estate coach and, like I said, active real estate agent as well, digital marketing specialist. And I've been running Google, YouTube, Meta ads, which is Facebook and Instagram, for over a decade. So I know a lot of the strategies. I know how to do it. I'm an active producing agent for over 20 years, and I use this in my business on a weekly basis, if not more often than that. So the things I'm going to show you are things I am currently using. They are practical. We're going to dive in and actually look at how to do it. This isn't just theory. This is actually practicality, showing you how to go in and do some of these strategies. And if you just don't want to deal with it, you don't have the time or the know-how, or just don't want to put in the time, then my team and I do help agents do some of this, both on my team, and I help outside agents. I can either show you or your marketing person, how to really dial this in and set up your own standard operating procedures, SOPs, that we call it. Or we have a program where we can actually go in and manage a lot of this for you, and you just handle the leads as they come in. So feel free to reach out. A lot of information in the description. I've got a link. You can set up a strategy session with me. We can talk more about it. And definitely stay around to the end, because I'm going to give you a couple of giveaways. One is going to be an SOP, the process of doing this, written process. And I'm also going to give you the actual keywords that I use for the Google ad keyword search, keyword ads. So stay around to the end. I'm going to tell you how to get those items. All right, let's get started. So first, I just want to get a little bit into what you're going to need to get this all set up. You're going to need a Meta ads account, which, like I said, that's Facebook and Instagram. You're going to need a Google ads account, which is Google and YouTube. And you're going to need a website, really just a landing page, actually not a website. I'll touch on that in just a second. And you're going to need a CRM so that your leads can go in. And if you're an agent, you don't have a CRM, you got to get one. And if you have one and you're not using it, you got to use it. So going back to the landing page, this is a really, really important thing. People have landing pages with, just a form. Hey, put your name and your address and all that stuff in here and fill it out. And then other people will use things like HomeBot, which is a really good nurture program. And there's some other great ones out there that are very similar, but they're not good lead gen programs. So this is really important. I don't get anything from this company, but homevalueleads.com is probably the best one I've seen. I have a Lofty website, and Lofty is a CRM, and it actually has website integration as well. That has a good page. But the key thing is you need it to be a landing page. The first thing, all I'd ask them for is their address. Give us your address to get your free report. They enter that. Then it takes them to the next step where they actually enter their name and their email, say, hey, give us this information so we can send you your report. Some people will bounce right at that point and say, no, never mind. But then you already got their address. So can you go knock on their door? Can you mail them stuff? Yes. So those are what we call partial leads, and you at least got the address. So then the next step is, if they do give you their name and their email, then the next step is that it takes them to a next page where it asks for their phone number, and it asks how soon you're thinking about selling, why are you selling, all that. And if they don't want to give any of that information, they should have their name and their email, and of course their address from the first screen. So that's really important, because that's how we at least get their information. If you have one screen that's just a form that asks them for their name, their phone number, their email, their address, all that stuff, and they don't want to give you any of it, you're never going to get any of it. So at least we get a little bit, if we can, as it takes them through. So that's really key part about what you need. And then, of course, the CRM. You need not just the CRM, but some type of follow-up system. And we can touch on that a little bit in here as well later. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get into a little bit of a screen share with meta ads and just kind of show you a little bit of some analytics on a previous ad I did, and also show you just kind of the basics of setting one up. So let's jump into that. Okay, so here we are on the Ads Manager dashboard. We're looking at here, we're going to look at campaigns, ad sets and ads. I'm not going to get into the details of it. So go back here, we'll just look at the campaign level graphic analytics. So this is just a quick campaign. It was run 66 link clicks. There's only 90 cents per click, and a bunch of impressions and everything else. And so there's, we can also retarget these people. There's other things we can do, but just generating just from the ad itself, just specific the first time around, 66 link clicks. You're getting an address for probably every 5 to 7 clicks, and then you're getting at least an email, usually an email and a phone number. You're getting those on a probably every 3 to 4 addresses will also have an email and at least an email or an email and a phone number. So just running through how to set those up, just some quick tips. I'm not going to go into very slow, thorough of setting up an ad. Hopefully you know that. I'm just going to tell you the key things you need to touch on. So you need to hit traffic as your campaign type, as your objective, because you're driving people to a landing page. You don't want awareness, you don't want engagement, none of those are things. You want traffic because it's going to find people that are most likely to click on a link to go to a website. And that's what you want to go to. So you want, I always do manual. I like to have a lot more control over everything. So we're going to get into here. I like to do the ad set budget. Everything you can see, we're just keeping it traffic. There's nothing else. There's no spending limit there. I don't want to share it with a budget with any other ad sets. You can A/B test. I'm not going to talk about that here. Categories has to be housing or your ad will not run. And that's really about all you need to know at the campaign level. I'm going to get into, so message destination, no. We're going to choose website destination. And we're going to do maximize, so there's different things you can do here. Maximize number of link clicks. So I don't want to do a link click because that's just people clicking and they may, it takes a few seconds for the page to actually load. They may bounce off before it even loads. We want to maximize number of landing page views because you want people actually getting to the page. There's other things here, just ignore those. I wouldn't do cost per result. I don't do that. And then you go down to your daily budget. I mean, you can figure you're going to, you saw what I mentioned, for every $5 to $7, you're going to get an address. For every 25 to 35, you're probably going to get at least an email or a phone number. So that tells you, what do you want to set your budget at? I would always do a daily budget. I wouldn't do a lifetime budget schedule. If you don't set an end date, it's just going to keep running. So as long as you know to stay on top of it and check on it and eventually, pause it or turn it off, then don't set an end date. But if you think you might forget, then definitely set an end date. Give yourself at least 30 days on it to see how things do, though. All right, locations. This is where you get in and you can dig in deeper. We're not going to talk about custom audiences, but locations, you can edit that. This is where with Meta, you're going to have a 15-mile radius. So do not pick a zip code. That will be an issue. You can pick a radius. You can pick a city. You can pick an address and it'll go 15 miles is the minimum you can do around that address. So if you're on the coast, you can drop, what you do is drop a pin and it'll go 15 miles around that. You can drop that out in the ocean. It'll actually then the radius will only cut into some of the land. And that way you're not targeting a full 15 miles. If you don't have that luxury, I'm in Los Angeles, I can do that. But otherwise it's just 15-mile radius. You're spending, if you're doing listings, You can travel quite a ways to do listings. If you have a team, you have team members that maybe want to go do listings, you get a good lead and you convert them, you can refer it to someone in that area and get 25%. You're basically, like a lead generation company at that point. And they're so inexpensive. Facebook ads are so inexpensive. Hit a big area. There's ways we can actually kind of filter the people that are just looking in your area as well. If you want, I'll talk about that as well. So those are the main things. I wouldn't get the criteria down too much other than that. If you're familiar with custom audiences, which I talk about that in other videos, you can reach out to me if you have questions specifically about that. But I have another video on my channel. You can go check that out. It talks about custom audiences and targeting with those. You basically upload a list of people. So a good thing to do if you work with your title company, pull a list of people that own homes in an area. Pretty good list of people you want to target. We're not able to target homeowners in Facebook anymore. But if you pull that list, you can get their names, their phone numbers, or emails. That's what you need to upload their list into Facebook, and then you can target them with these ads specifically. That is a very targeted list. You may not get as many ads or as leads. Cost might be a little bit higher, but those are people, those are homeowners in your area or in a very specific area, and those are probably worth more because you know that it's a target audience you want to be talking to. So that's really all I'm going to get into on the ad side of it. You should have to run through this. This isn't an Facebook ads class, so you should have a basic understanding of how to run those ads. Like I said, if you don't, feel free to reach out. But next, I'm going to jump over to Google Ads, and we're going to just take a look at some of that, and I'll give you some pointers on how to set that up best as well. So let's jump over there. Now, here we are in the Google Ads platform. If you haven't seen it, hopefully you have seen it, because again, this isn't a Google Ads class. This is something that you have to go in and know how to do some of this on your own. I'm going to give you some tips on how to set it up better or the right approach, but you're going to want to go in and do it yourself. Again, so here we're looking at a campaign I was running. I got 235 clicks, a bunch of impressions. This costs just over $1, just under $1.50 per click. Now, the good thing about that, and just as a broad differentiation with social media ads and Google ads, social media ads they're just going to be lower intent because they're not searching for what you're putting up. They are scrolling through and you're popping up. They weren't asking for it, but they saw it and had some interest. So there is some intent there, which is good. Some people there won't be relevant at all, but the people that actually get through and eventually give their information hopefully have some intent. So Google Ads, the way we set it up, this is when people are actually searching for specific things, you're showing up. So there's already some intent. There's already some curiosity, some interest there. So if it's costing you a little bit more per click, you probably have a more likelihood of getting leads. So again, the cost comes down to about the same though. You're probably getting, one every 4 or 5 leads, you're going to have an email and a phone number. Each of those are costing you $5 to $7 each is what I've been seeing, and what I've seen kind of across the board. So you can see the costs are in here, a bunch of pretty good click-through rate, over 4%. So let me just get into a few basics of setting it up. So you're just going to, once you're in Google Ads, you're going to hit create, create a campaign. What I'm going to do is, I'm not going to explain all of these, but I'm going to tell you, you want to click create a campaign without guidance. So again, I like to have manual control over a lot of this stuff. Now I'm going to do a search campaign because this is what people are searching for. And then, conversion goals and things like that, we can talk about. But right now, page views on a website is what I'm looking for. Obviously, right there. Put in a website. I'm not going to put it. You'll want to use your specific. I would use the landing page link here. I just put in my website for now. Nope. I'm going to create a new campaign. So those are the main things I wanted to just tell you where to search. And conversions. I mean, you can do different things, clicks, impressions, clicks. In this case, because if you don't have tracking and conversions set up well on your site, which can be a little tricky to do, I would just use clicks. It makes it simple. Like I said, usually we want to make sure that people do end up on the page. But for here, for most people, it's going to be easiest just to choose clicks. You're going to go through, and then locations. Again, do not choose a zip code. What's nice though is that you can choose uncheck these. Don't do any of those. You want it specifically just on search. You're going to do location options. I would say presence typically, not an interest, because you want them to actually have a presence in these areas where they actually live there. So I would choose that, and I would choose enter another location, advanced search. This is where you can put in a radius as low as 1 mile around an address. That's pretty nice. Or you can put in, do not use a zip code, because that will be a housing issue for whatever reason for Google. That's an issue. But you can do a location, you can do cities, or you can do a radius. You can do multiple radiuses around different cities or around different addresses. If you have a farm, pick an address in the middle of the farm, do a mile radius. You might need to expand it 2 miles. Just, I know it's probably outside your farm, but just expand it 2 miles. And then because it is, like I said before, these are so inexpensive. You're going to hit a broader area, but it's going to find enough people for it to start getting some traction. You can't go too narrow. If it doesn't start getting results, it just won't run well. So that's a key thing on location. I wanted to make sure you knew to set up a search campaign, to choose clicks just to make it easiest. I want to make sure you know about the location. And then audience segments. I wouldn't change this too much. The only thing I would look at doing, I would look at choosing, you just type in homeowners, detailed demographic homeowners, boom, that's it. So you got your location, homeowners, all you care about, right? You want people to own a home. If you want to have them find out what their home is worth, you want to get a listing. So those are the main things. I'm not going to get into showing you how to set up an ad and do all these other things that you should know how to do, or stay tuned for my channel. I'm going to have future videos about those types of things, or depending on when you're watching this, they may already be on the channel. So definitely go check around and search that out, or reach out to me directly. Okay, so I mentioned earlier, landing page was really important. So I'm going to go in and show you a little bit about that right now as well. So this is my landing page. Like I said, someone lands here, it says, what's your home really worth? So I'm going to put an address on the home, show you what it's like. So next, okay, found the property. So name, requires an email, phone number is optional. So if someone gets this, they're gonna say, well, I don't want to give that information, and they can just cancel, close out, go somewhere else. Well, now I got their address. So now I can add them to my mailing campaigns. I can print out a CMA, I can go door knock, I can do a lot of things. Well, I'll look them up and see if they live there. Is it an investment property? What is it? I can mail something out if they're not local. But that's the importance of the actual landing page, is making sure that you can get their address without asking for anything else. Okay, and the last thing I wanted to touch on then is the CRM. That's what I talked about. You got to have a CRM. I just entered that information. So if someone puts their address in, you should get notified right away. So there's automations you can set up from there to actually have, especially with AI right now, you can have something set up to automatically mail them something just by getting the address. So, but that should populate into your CRM. It should kick off some type of action plan that tells you, you get notified, you got a lead, they end up somewhere where you can find them. And then there's a plan telling you, okay, mail them something, door knock, do all these different things that you have already kind of laid out. And that's what I tell everybody. You need to have that set up in the first place, this is also something I can help you with. But you're going to blow a ton of money if you don't have your follow-up in place. So if you don't, then you got to get that in place first. Get a CRM, get a plan, get at least some basic things of how to follow up. You got the initial follow-up where you're trying to get in touch with them, can't do it, or they say, you know what, I'm good for now. You put them on a nurture campaign, and you have a different follow-up sequence there, and you have different things that you can keep in touch with them about. But that CRM part is actually it's that, even though it's the last thing I'm talking about, it's actually the first thing you need to have set up. So if you don't, either do it, and AI can help really well with that. But I can also help if you want to talk a little bit more about that. So feel free to reach out. And now I wanted to give you, I told you, stay around towards the end. We're not to the end yet, but I want to give you some of that information I mentioned. So if you want to get the keyword search, the keywords that I do for the actual keyword ad on Google, and the SOP process, kind of the white paper that I have put together that kind of lays all this out, what I just talked about. I can get those for you. But there's a video. First, I just want to know there's a video on your screen here. You want to go check that out. That'll take you some more trainings I've done. Check out my channel. Definitely subscribe and turn on notifications. And so you hear when more things come out, and hopefully it'll be something else that catches your attention. Like I said, feel free to reach out in the description to me. There's ways of contacting me, either schedule something or just to shoot me a call or a text or an email. And to get you got to go in the description, go down to the bottom of the description, and there will be links to both how to get the SOP, standard operating procedure, on how to do all this, and also to get my list of keywords for Google Ads. And you can click on those, and then you're going to have access to it. And if you can run it yourself, good luck. More power to you. It's great. But if you can't, feel free to reach out. I'm happy to help. Thanks a lot.